Hey, babes, and welcome back to Slay and Pray. It is me, your girl, Melissa Renee. If you are new here, welcome to the family. I am so excited that you decided to join us this week. Um, I talk all things God, lifestyle, and makeup. So if that is something that you are interested in, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. I would love to have you be a part of the family. So this week I have another Wednesday word. We'll be talking about another woman of the Bible, okay? This story I love, okay? When I tell you I love this story. So go get your Bible and meet me back here. Okay, babes. So this week we'll be coming from the full book of Esther, okay? So just a little backstory on Esther. Esther was a Jew. Her real name was Hadassah, but we all know her as Esther. And she was raised by her cousin Mordecai. Okay, he raised her up as his own. Okay, so let's get into it. Now, I'm not gonna give you guys all the backstory. You're gonna have to read Esther on your own in your own time. Just read it straight through, because it's really good. So at this time, the king had the king was looking for a new queen, and so he had all these other young women come, and they had to go through, like, I think it was 12 months of like beauty treatments and all of these things before they could even be presented to the king, right? So Mordecai took Esther and he told her, do not reveal your nationality. Do not tell them that you are a Jew. Do not tell them where you come from. Do not tell them any of that, okay? Just keep that to yourself. And Esther said okay, and that's what she did. She did not tell anyone anything about who she was or anything, okay? So when Esther was presented to the king, when her time came to be presented to the king, he liked her. Okay, so Esther becomes queen, okay? And after she becomes queen, the king decides to honor Haman, this man named Haman, right? And he gives him an honor higher than that of all the other nobles, right? So he has this little, I guess I would call it a little ceremony or whatever, and he wants everybody to bow down to him, basically. And Mordecai is like, I ain't bowing down to you. It ain't, no, it's not happening. So they like, bro, look at him, he ain't bowing down to you. So Mordecai's like, Haman, my bad. Haman's like, well, I'm not gonna allow this to roll. Like, that ain't cool. Like, I told y'all to bow, so you supposed to bow, right? I'm telling you, the Bible is messy. Do you understand me? It's messy. It's better than anything you'll ever watch on TV. Like, just pick up the word if you want some entertaining stuff. And you want your spirit to be fed, okay? So anyways, so when Haman sees that Mordecai is not bowing down to him, he comes up with this plot to basically murder him. And then he was like, you know what? I ain't gonna just murder Mordecai. I'm going to murder all of the Jews, right? Okay, so I'll be coming from Esther 3 and 8. Excuse me. This is when Haman went to the king and he said, there is a certain people dispersed among the people in all of the provinces of your kingdom who keep themselves separate. Their customs are different from all other people, and they do not obey the king's law. It is not in the king's best interest to tolerate them. If it pleases the king, let a decree be issued to destroy them. Okay, so the king agrees, he signs the decree, and it goes out, right? So when Mordecai finds out about this decree, he tears his clothes, he puts on sackcloth and ashes, and he's going through the city just yelling loud and bitterly, and he just all messed up. And so he goes to the gate, to the palace, to the king's gate, and they tell Esther. Esther finds out, and she finds out what's going on with him, and he tells them to tell Esther to go to the king. Like, he told them everything that happened, and he telling them to tell Esther to, like, girl, you got to go to the king. You got to plead for our mercy. Like, you can't allow this to happen, right? So Esther didn't want to do it at first, right? Right here in Esther 4, I think I'm going to start at, I don't know, like 4 and 11, it says that all the king officers and the people of royal provinces know that for any man or woman who approaches the king in his inner court without being summoned by the king has but one law, that they will be put to death unless the king extends his golden scepter to them and spares their life. Right? And she said there had been 30 days since she had seen the king, since he had summoned her. Right? So it gets back to Mordecai, that of what Esther said, right? So Mordecai is like, do not think that because you are in the king's house, you alone of all the Jews will escape. Like, he telling her, like, girl, don't forget where you came from. Don't forget who you are. Okay? So Esther is like, okay, we're gonna go on a fast. Like, tell all the Jews to fast for 3 days with no food and no water, and then after these 3 days, she'll go to the king. Okay, so everybody goes on the fast. She puts her servants on the fast as well, and then she goes to the king, right? And when she goes to the king, he just lets her come on in. Like, it's okay, you can come, without being summoned, whatever. He didn't have her killed or anything. And she just asks, he says that you can have whatever you want up until half of his kingdom, right? And so she just says, she wants to have lunch with him and Haman, and he agrees. So, yeah. Okay, and so then they have 2 lunches. She has 2 lunches with the king and with Haman, and she lets everything out that Haman was trying to kill the Jews and, all of that. And Haman had this pole built for Mordecai to be hung on and to be impaled on. To be impaled on, not hung. To be impaled on. But Haman himself was impaled on that exact pole. So, yes, for more details about everything that went on in Esther, you're going to have to go back and read it, girl. But we about to talk about Esther, okay, and how this woman had faith, okay? Because if you know for a fact that, hey, if I approach this man, he can literally kill me. But no, we're going to go on a 3-day fast. We're going to go on a dry fast for 3 days. No food, no water, no nothing. And we all going to pray. And we're going to ask God to show us mercy, to show me mercy, so that when I approach this man, he won't have me killed. And that's exactly what happened. And when she went to him, he was so accepting, telling her, like, oh, yeah, come on in. You can have up until half of my kingdom, whatever you want. And now when a king signs a decree, there's no way around it. He can't, there's no ripping it up and saying, oh, I'm not doing it no more. We don't want it no more. No, they have to go through with that decree. So, yeah, everything worked out in their favor. Now, if Esther had just been like, you know what, I said what I said. I'm not going, because if he ain't summoned me, he gonna kill me. So I ain't going. But she had faith enough to go to God and, fast and pray. Like, fasting is bigger than what we really think. Like, it's very important. And we can see that through this story, through this book, that, without her fasting and going to God, and without all of the Jews fasting, that this probably could have turned out in Haman's favor, right? But it didn't. It worked against Haman. It worked against his family, and Mordecai and the Jews and Esther are the ones that came out on top in the end. When we put our trust and our faith in God, and we run to him before we make these rash decisions, before we say, well, I'm going to get my revenge. I'm going to do this myself, because the Bible says that vengeance is mine, said the Lord. Right? So we literally have to put our problems, our issues, our concerns in God's hand and allow him to do what he's going to do. Right? Again, this situation could have turned out the opposite. Like, Haman could have killed all of them had Esther not fasted and went to the king afterwards. Like, what? It's so important to build a relationship with God. It's so important to know when to fast. It's so important to know how to fast. It's so important to know the things of God, right? So remember that God will use anyone, okay? And that God is always going to come through for his people. Okay, any promise God has made, anything that God has said to you, trust and believe that it's going to come to pass. God knows, God knew this situation before it even happened. God knew exactly what was going to happen. God knew that Esther was going to fast and that, everything was going to work out. He knows it all. So we literally cannot get bent out of shape when things happen. We can't be out here um acting like Mordecai and tripping. Like we literally have to, it's okay. Calm down. Let's go to God. Now I'm not saying that that's always easy. I think I said this in like multiple videos, because to sit here and say that it's like super easy to go to God when we are going through some things, especially when you are a new Christian, when you are learning who God is, when you are, trying to turn your life around, it's not going to seem like it's the easiest thing to do is to run to God, because sometimes it's like, God, I'm tired. Like, when is it going to change? When is it going to end? And in those moments, we have to, I tell people to feel their feelings, get it out, like to shut our feelings down and just go strictly spiritual. I don't think that's realistic. I think it's okay to feel your feelings and remember who God is and go to God without making rash decisions, right? So, yeah, God is always going to be there. God, I mean, I could literally talk all day, so I'm not. But remember that God will use you. And God really showed himself in this story. He showed himself to Esther. He showed himself to every Jew in that time. And he should have opened the eyes through this, should have opened the eyes of everyone around them, because God came through for the Jews in this story. Okay. So, yeah, that is really all I have for you, babes. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something new about Esther. If you have not read it, I encourage you to go back and read the full book of Esther, and yeah, do a Bible study on Esther. And yeah, so I'll see you guys next week. Bye, babes. All right, babes, before we close out, make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe to my channel so that you guys never miss when I upload another video. Bye, babes.